The Blues continue to struggle, and, well, at least they got a point out of it.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about how the Blues continue to struggle. They just lost to the Maple Leafs, but they did gain a point, so that is a positive, right? I'm going to continue to promote the fact that the Blues are coming to my city and will be playing the Philadelphia Flyers this Thursday. So that means, yes, exclusive coverage of not only the game, but of the players in the locker room after morning skate. And of course, I know I didn't film yesterday. We just need to talk about that ugly VGK game. We have a lot going on today, and I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I hope everybody's having a happy Tuesday, November 18th. And for the Blues, I guess we can be happy because they got a point. And I know what you might be thinking. Well, they didn't win. That's correct. They didn't win, but it is a win that they got a point. You have to take the wins for what it is. This is not a good team, right? And we know that. We know that. It's not breaking news to you or I that this is a bad team. But against Toronto, I have to tell you, and the Leafs haven't been that great this season. You had a Nathan Walker goal only a minute and 50 seconds into the contest. And the Aussie Nathan Walker, as we all know and love, has scored his third goal of the season, which is actually really good for him and something worth noting. Walks always puts out maximum effort on the ice. Always. So wanted to note that. We also had a Dvorsky goal, but this time it was a power play Dvorsky goal. And I have to say, 3 goals this season for Dvorsky, and I told you that they had to call him up. I have said this for a long time now, that this is a player that deserved a position on the opening night roster. They didn't do that. He was a Springfield, and now, he gets the call up, and that's that. Now, you might be wondering, Haley, who scored the OT winner? As everybody in Toronto is freaking out. Yes, it was William Nylander, okay? Every single person in Toronto is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay, it's against the Blues. Be so for real. Now, it is funny, though, because both teams had an equal amount of 29 shots on goal, which you kind of would expect Toronto just to be a little bit more dominant considering the fact that the Blues are really bad, right? They weren't. In net tonight, by the way, it was Jordan Binnington. We haven't seen Joel Hofer really have the best season, and I know Binnington hasn't either, but hey, it is what it is. Today, he did allow 3 goals in, but what I will say is that at the end of the day, right, when it comes to Binner, he is a good goalie. He just has been put in a bad position. And that to me just kind of goes to show that, it's not necessarily always the fault of somebody in a position like that. And to reiterate, right, because it is very important for me to also bring this up, at the end of the day, too, what more realistically do you expect out of Jordan Binnington? And I'm not trying to sound that in a condescending way. I am genuinely asking you, what are you expecting out of him? Do you expect him to be like Superman and stop every single puck that comes his way? The realistic answer is no, he's not able to do that. So I do want you just think deep down, what do you really want out of Jordan Binnington? Overall, I would say that listen, it's a win, right? You can't really complain too much about that just because, I mean, not a win, it's a point, but for me, that's a win, right? They lost in OT, but for me, it's a win because they got a point. I want to make that very clear. This team sucks. Um, I also want to bring up, because this was a shootout loss. It was against Philadelphia on Friday night. Oh boy, that was ugly. Now, I don't think they necessarily played. Let's go say it this way. I don't think they played. Okay. It was a fluky game. The Flyers ended up winning 6-5. Obviously, the shootout. But man, it was a really weird game. I mean, you have Jordan Kyrou, who scored only a minute and 19 seconds into the contest, and then Zegras, like 7 minutes later, scores. And then finally, to end the first frame, it's Jimmy Snuggerud. It's 2-1 Blues. Of course, Justin Falk scores and makes it 3-1. But guess what? In good old Blues fashion, we lose the lead because a Christian Dvorak and a Trevor Zegras both score. Finally, heading into the final frame with the score being 3-3, a tied up game. It's who? Dylan Holloway. Hollywood scores, makes it 4-3. Then my guy, it's my guy, Robert Thomas. I mean, come on. I have the knockoff Robert Thomas sweater behind me. Let's be so for real. I love RT. He scores. And then finally, you think to yourself, the Blues have a 2-goal lead. They're looking dominant. They're looking good. Yeah, no. This is the St. Louis Blues where we lost a 4-goal lead. So what makes you think that a 2-goal lead is safe? Well, it wasn't. And that being said, Christian Dvorak scores yet again, and Owen Tippett. Finally, they go to the shootout. Robert Thomas, his shot was saved by Sam Ersson, who is the Flyers goalie. And Trevor Zegras scores. Jimmy Snuggerud. Well, that was. And then Michkov, it was actually saved by Binnington. And then Holloway, it was like to the right, like nowhere near the net, like boom, boom, boom. And they lost. And it was ugly. Not good. But they got a point. And that is the point of all of this. We're tying it all together. I want this team to be good. But I've kind of like accepted the fact that this might not be the worst case scenario right now. And you might be like, winning's not what you want? What? Hi? What? How? Oh, no. Hello. We want to get McKenna. Okay. Hashtag tank for McKenna. That is the goal. That's what we want to see. Now, I know, again, it sounds counterproductive. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. Okay. Relax. But I just want to remind you where the Blues sit in the league. I know we were the 4th worst team. We were the 5th worst team. Guess what? We're the 3rd worst team. And the Nashville Predators are somehow behind us. And, well, we're not last. We're 7th in the Central. So, I mean, like, if you're not first, you're last, right? Am I right? We're 7th, right? Yeah, it's painful, right? Like, I look at the Central, honestly, and people say, oh, they're only separated by a couple points, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, be so for real. The Preds 16, the Blues 17. Okay, fine. That's a couple points. The Wild, who are above the Blues, 22 points. Okay. The Mammoth and the Blackhawks and the Jets, 22 points, right? So they all have 22 points. And I know, oh, it's only 5 points. You're expecting the Blues to win like 6 games? Okay. Or 3 games and making it 6 points? Like, okay. The Stars, who are in second, have 27 points. And then the Avalanche, 31 points for Colorado. Like, they, by the way, only have 1 regulation loss. They are 13-1-5. Insane. They're so good. And it scares me because, like, we all know it's probably going to be like a dogfight till the end when it comes to them in Dallas. And they're just going to always dominate. And it's, what makes me upset? The Anaheim Ducks with 25 points. Like, the Oilers, though, they have 22 points. The Canucks, 20. The Sharks, 19. And then the Flames, 13. So when it comes to points, like, I'm not bragging or anything, but, like, I know the Flames have 13. Guess what? We have 17. What's up? But Um, those were the points that we got. Now I know, oh, the loss to the Golden Knights. We will talk about that, okay? But I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel first. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to fanduel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Blues are coming to town, and I am so excited. This is like my Super Bowl. People call the Blues and Flyers games the Haley Bowl because I live in Philly. I cover the Flyers, right? That's my job. My team is the Blues. So I get to see my team in the city that I live in, and it's always so special to me, okay? So that's number one. Number two, content for the podcast. You have no idea, right? How cool it is for me to be able to finally talk to the guys. You know, I talk about them every single day. I'm a fan. Like, it is such a cool experience. And I am so thrilled to potentially talk to them tomorrow or Thursday. I'm not sure what their schedule's like. They're going to send it out today. So we'll see. Um, but I'm excited, one, to talk to them. So if it is tomorrow, like, I have to get ready because, like, I can't go like this. But all jokes aside, I feel like they should be traveling from Toronto to Philly just because they do have that day in between. And that's what happened last year. So I hope I get 2 days with the Blues. And hashtag we won Blues Day Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, but that didn't make sense because I'm not seeing them today. Oh, the Flyers. How were they? Well, you saw how they were. No defense. Arison's a liability in net. I have a feeling it's going to be Dan Vladar in net for the Flyers coming up on Thursday. He struggled against Dallas, but again, we all know how good of a team Dallas is. And the thing is for the Flyers, right? They are a team that I guess on paper you might be like, "Oh, they're a good team. They're winning." Oh, okay. Listen, I'm not arguing with you about the fact that they're winning. What I am saying and what bothers me, and it's a stupid thing to be bothered by, to be honest with you, because again, I know a win's a win, but the Flyers only have 4 regulation wins. They are 9, 6, and 3, right? With 4 regulation wins. That means 5 of their wins have come from OT or shootout, and they're 3-0 in shootout. So most of them a shootout. And there's nothing wrong with winning in extra minutes, right? That's why it's invented in the game. But it's just really difficult, for me at least, to look at that team and say, oh, this is a good hockey team when they can't find a way to win in regulation. Now, I know it might be a little bit odd because the Blues can't find a way to win either. And we know that. But I think that they're kind of on different levels, but similar levels in a sense, where they both have issues defensively, right? They both have issues when it comes to when to shoot the puck. They shoot the puck, it's just never at the right time. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have to take those chances with one timers, and that's something that they really don't do often. And it's, again, Rick talking and how he coaches and his style. I mean, we saw this in Vancouver, so this isn't anything new. But it is an interesting little tidbit to bring up just because, again, the Blues need a win. And I know, tank for McKenna, blah, blah, blah. I know, but at the same time, like, you don't want these guys to be like miserable. And again, as fans, we want to watch competitive hockey. I love hockey. And there is, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is what bothers me about who I am as a person, I still believe that this team is going to do good things. I do. And you got to believe that sometimes, or else you're going to be watching these games miserable. And I don't think that's necessarily fun. Okay? Listen, somebody said to me, because I put a tweet out, right? I'm always tweeting. I'm like tweeting. I said something. And I said, point blank, period, the Blues shouldn't have traded Zach Bolduc. They should have re-signed Ryan Suter and Foxa. I think that's a reasonable. The Foxa one people agreed with, and then people were like, Ryan Suter. I'm telling you, ever since Ryan Suter hasn't been on this team this season, and it's been the other Suter, Pius Suter, he's been fine, whatever. I'm telling you, there's like a curse on this team now. But when I talk about Zach Bolduc, and I wanted to bring this up, I know he hasn't scored or gained really many points since the last time we talked about him with only a few games in. That's not why I'm saying that. When the Blues acquired Logan Mayo, right? You gave away a player that had over 100 NHL games under his belt. That means something. That's skill. That's development, right? That's promise. When you bring in a guy like Logan Mayo, right? You put him in the starting lineup. Yep. And he's given a chance and he's not playing well, and then send him down. To me, it makes me question why that move was even made. Because let's go say, you continue to keep Zach Bolduc. He's, having a good season. You want to trade him as it is. That's fine. That's whatever. He has value. You could get value out of him. You could get draft picks out of him. You could get prospects. Like, you could get something valuable. Hopefully for the defense. They need it. But you get what I'm saying. It's a sense of value. And I just have a really difficult time understanding how this makes sense to anybody. And I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of backlash for it because it's like, it doesn't make sense. Okay. But when you think about it from that perspective, please allow yourself to understand that that does make sense, that you're not always trading or you're not always keeping a player just to have them as a player on your team. You're keeping them as value, as an asset until you can get rid of them for something more valuable. And that's the reality. That's life, right? So, all in all, going back to my initial point, when I'm saying the Blues should never have traded Zach Bolduc for Logan Mayo, I'm not wrong, right? Because let's go say Logan doesn't develop in Springfield. I know he scored a goal the other day. That's awesome. Shout out Logan. Like, congrats. It's the AHL. You exceed in the AHL, so no surprise on that one. Well, you run into a situation that if he doesn't develop, it was a waste. If he does develop, okay, when will he be ready? And I don't know. I don't have the answer because, again, that's a him answer. Like, I'm not Timothy. I'm Haley. And I don't know the timelines of things. All I know is that he's not ready, and I thought it was a bad trade. That's that. All right, we're going to have to talk about that VGK game because it was ugly, ugly, ugly. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends. I have a lot of friends today at Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast acting doctor prescribed treatments for ED designated to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it to get started. They make it so easy because all you have to do is connect with a board certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moment that matters. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. It was an ugly, had to reiterate the ugly loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. And oh boy, it really honestly sucked. Like, if we're gonna be real, it sucked. It was a 4-1 loss, and I know you might be like, well, why are you being like it was ugly, ugly, ugly? Because it was Brandon Saad that had to be the first goal scorer on us. Like, for real. Out of all players, it's Sauter. Ugh, that sucked. And then Bowman scores on the power play, and we know that our PK isn't as good as it used to be. And then Hannafin scores like 30 seconds into the second frame. And then Hurdle scores. And again, former Shark. Boo. We know how I feel about the Sharks. Now, I will say Philip Broberg did score. Brob's got a goal. Haven't seen much of him lately, so cool. But it was ugly. I mean, we had a lot of hits, actually. Like, that part was fine. That was good. But in shot total, it was 34-23. And the VGK, like, just honestly looked so much better than us. And they've been having kind of a rough season. And anytime your team is down by 4 goals, I just want to preference this. It's usually the norm that they're not going to come back and win unless you're Detroit. Then you come back and win because you play against the Blues. But for me, I just, it was so hard to find enjoyment in that contest. And I just think it's because of how they're starting these games off. It's not been anything where I see that extra oomph right away, right? We want to see that extra, effort put in, and we don't always see that. And that's disappointing for many, many reasons. But again, I mean, the Blues as a whole this season, I mean, they're 0-4 in OT. And I know this game wasn't an OT game, but this is after the Leafs. So even if you did tie up the contest, it's not like you're going to have much success. And that's the reality. And I know that sounds, again, harsh, but that's the truth. You haven't been able to find a way to win in extra minutes. So even if you did tie up the contest, what good would it have done? Oh, I know. Cause you get 1 point. That's it. And I really, really do question if Coach Montgomery was the right decision. And I like Monty, and I personally do. Like, I was excited. But this has been so bad. How come they looked better under Drew Bannister? And I'm not trying to throw shots or digs at Drew Bannister. Like, it sucks what happened with him, getting fired. Like, that sucks. But how is it that you sign Montgomery to a 5-year, contract, and your team is just awful? That doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's always easy to replace. It is. You can find somebody that wants the job, and you always can replace, right? It's kind of getting a little bit obvious that maybe this wasn't maybe a fit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an identity marker on this team. It's so confusing, and it doesn't make any sense to me. The last game the Blues won was against the Flames, and it was a 3-2 win. And that was, let's go count how many games ago. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, you shouldn't win like a game every like 5 games. Like, it's such ugly hockey. And it just makes it very difficult and hard to watch. And that's the truth. That's what it comes down to. It's just really hard hockey to watch. And I hope they figure it out. I want them to figure it out. And if they do figure it out, my only, I guess, suggestion would be do it now. Because if you figure it out in January, maybe not February, maybe potentially. I know that's how we got to the cup. I know I was very aware that again, fan high. Um, I just, for whatever reason, cannot have my heart broken again. Not by being eliminated from the playoffs, but getting a mid-round draft pick. Like, I will crash out even more. So, if you're gonna be bad, just be bad. Don't do this whole, "Oh, I'm going to be good." I want it to be competitive hockey, obviously, but just come on. We got to stick to a script or something because, like, I am very concerned right now about the state of this team as a whole. And I'm like, trade everybody. At this point, this isn't fun. I'm not having a good time. Get rid of them all. Like, besides Robert Thomas, that's my guy. And Captain Braden Shen, my other guy. But other than that, trade them all. I know people are gonna be like, trade Shen, whatever. I'm still gonna defend him, and that's that. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.